Trump is at odds with NATO and the reality. No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want. To use the language of intelligence assessment, it's highly unlikely that this conversation or anything like it actually happened. But that CNN's Daniel Dale has noted Trump is very fond of telling stories about big strong men with tears in their eyes coming up and calling him sir. There's almost never any corroborating evidence, and it's a good bet that very few of these stories are accounts of actual conversation. It is similarly highly unlikely that the likes of, let's say, Emmanuel Macron and Angela Merkel ever addressed Trump as sir. It's also highly unlikely that any NATO leaders asked what would happen if their countries didn't pay. European officials know, even if Trump doesn't, that NATO is an alliance, not a club that collects dues from its members. By the way, while European nations have probably been spending too little on their own defense, many have risen to the challenge of Putin's invasion of Ukraine, notably Lithuania, which Trump had singled out as fair game for Putin, had spent 6 times as much on Ukraine aid measured as a share of GDP as the United States has. So what's going on here? Either Trump is telling an especially pointless lie or he's confused about the past events. It wouldn't be the first time, as I said, while we don't know for sure that Trump's many such stories are figment of his imagination. We do know that, contrary to his claims, one source said there's no way that police officers and quoted employees were crying and apologizing to Trump at his Manhattan court arraignment last spring. Let's be clear what's at stake here. Never mind the political analysis. The talk about public perception and how they may affect the 2024 horse race. What it should be focusing on is how the candidates' mental competence might affect their decision-making. It's notable that despite the older fringe about Biden's age, I haven't seen many suggestions that he's made better decisions because his judgment is impaired. It's almost all speculation about the future. Yes, he's made the mistakes, although the 2 decisions that got the most criticism, withdrawing from Afghanistan and going big on spending, are actually looking justifiable in retrospect. But these mistakes, if they were mistakes, were the kind any president, no matter how young and vigorous, could have made. On the other hand, consider how Trump had reacted to the COVID-19 pandemic. Republicans have been remarkably successful at pretending that the Trump administration ended before the pandemic came to dominate the scene. But it didn't. COVID killed more than 77,000 Americans in December 2020. Trump's last full month in office. And as the pandemic spread, Trump had responded, as the Washington Post put it, with denial, mismanagement, and the medical thinking. Basically, he was unwilling to acknowledge an inconvenient reality and continually minimized the danger while amplifying crack remedies. remember all the times he said COVID would disappear. Remember the disinfectant press briefing. Remember hydroxychloroquine, and in case you've forgotten, Trump still refused to admit that he lost the 2020 election. Unlike Biden's missteps, whatever you may think there have been Trump's mishandling of COVID and election denial were uniquely Trumpian. The behavior of a man who doesn't like to accept the reality when it isn't what it wants to be. And does anyone think he's improved on that front over the past 3 years?